Hi, it's Steve and Caleb from Brownells, and we're back once again to continue our journey on reloading. And Caleb, what do you feel like talking about today?
Well, Steve, I think the stage is kind of set for what we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about case cleaning as far as like case preparation goes. So if you're new to reloading, or if you just been buying brass already clean and stuff, and you just picked up a bunch off the ground, got it from a range, your buddy gave you a bunch of brass, whatever, you probably are already aware that you need to clean it. And we have a few options for you. Steve, why don't you take us through the first one?
All right, well, this is one I use myself. It's a Vibratory Tumbler. This one's from RCBS. It's a really nice model. I use it. Like I said, works fast, gets the brass nice and clean with dry media, and it works for my application.
Yeah, and it's a really good option. So what you use with that is dry media. This is treated corn cob. You can get like walnut and different stuff like that. You can get it untreated and treat it yourself. Like we sell like little bottles of different things you can pour in there. Or if you just you buy the treated one, you use a ton of it, and then it just kind of starts losing its polishing effect.
Yeah, you can recharge it a little bit.
You just recharge it a little bit, pour a little bit of your treatment in there, and that's all there is to it. And this is super easy to set up, Steve.
Very easy, and I don't know. You might have to do a little sweeping afterwards. You always get some particles here and there.
Sure.
But that doesn't affect my operation in the least.
Yeah, I have a vibratory tumbler that I actually keep in my attic, and that's where I do all my stuff at. So all you literally do is you just take your bag of media, you pour it into your tumbler.
About half full.
Yeah, about half full, half empty if you're a pessimist, and then just dump your brass in there.
Right.
About roughly how much brass you think you can put in there, Steve?
I do it while it's running, and I keep putting brass in until it no longer wants to. It starts to get slow to circulate because it'll churn just like in a washing machine if it's loaded right. So you just don't want to overload it because it just gets loud and then the brass doesn't move around very well. It needs to be circulating the whole time.
Right, and as far as like time it takes for this thing to go, I usually just I'll put it on in the morning before I go to work, or I'll put it on before I go to bed at night or something like that. And I don't know, what do you do?
8 hours a lot of times is overkill if the brass wasn't real dirty to begin with. 2-3 hours is plenty if you just shot it and put it fresh from the range into the tumbler.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to mention, you have that bag of brass over there?
I do.
So this is obviously fresh brass, but for all intents and purposes here, we can pretend like this is a bunch of stuff I just picked up off the ground. Before we move on to the next style here, I just want to mention that there's no primers in these, right?
Right.
So, and that brings up the question, do you have to decap? Decapping means removing the primer. Mm-hmm. Do you have to decap before you tumble?
People do it both ways. You can get a universal decapper for your press and pop all those primers out and then go ahead and tumble them. Otherwise, some people just pop that primer out in the press and put a new one right directly in, because if one came out, one will go in.
Yeah, and that's a very good note there. Also, I wanted to make another note. So whenever you're decapping, like if you just picked up a bunch of dirty brass and you want to decap it, don't use your sizing die. Get a dedicated decapping die, because it's just going to dirty up your sizing die like crazy.
Right. And scratch it possibly.
Yeah, so if you're going to decap before you clean, get a dedicated decapping die. They work on pretty much everything, so you only got to buy one.
Right, they're universal.
Yeah. So with that being said, that was a little interject there, right? Let's move on to Rotary.
Right. I was a latecomer to the Rotary game. I started out with Vibratory. But sometimes this works better, especially if you want to use a liquid media.
Yeah, so wet tumbling? Mm-hmm. So I've actually never used a Rotary, so I've never wet tumbled. Everything I've done was either Vibratory, or what we're going to get into in a little bit here is the Ultrasonic.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty interesting. What liquid do you use?
Water.
Water? What do you add to it?
I add a little bit of Dawn, and then a product called Lemmy Shine, which is for dishwashing, and it brightens up the brass. It's acidic, I believe.
Nice.
And it works really well. But if you add too much, it discolors your brass, so you just add a little capful or so.
So you literally just use these stainless steel pins. I've heard of people not using pins at all.
Right.
Just using the brass and
right.
the cleaner.
It works okay for most brass. If you get some range brass that's been out for a season or two and has just turned black, use the pins. It'll save you a lot of time.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so like I said, I've never done it this way before, but I look forward to kind of getting into it.
Those pins, though, they really dig out the crud. Even out of the primer pocket and the flash hole and stuff, they just get in there and they just scrub everything.
So I like to decap before I tumble.
Yeah.
And the corn cob always gets stuck in my primer pockets.
Right.
And I usually just blow it out with compressed air. The pins look like they wouldn't get stuck as much.
No, but when the brass comes out wet, they cling inside because of the
I
surface
see.
tension of the water. So after you dry your brass and you know it's completely dry, then you run them through like that rotary machine or something to let the pins fall free. They will just fall free afterwards.
Yeah.
There's nothing to make them stick.
Yeah, good point there. And we'll go through some different sifting methods here
Yeah.
shortly. So to use this, all you do is you take your, well, you would start by taking your drum. You just unscrew the side of the drum that opens and it creates a water seal.
Right.
So you open that up. You just dump your pins in there, put your liquid in there, put your brass in there.
Yeah.
How much liquid do you usually put in here, Steve?
About halfway again.
Halfway?
Just
Okay.
like the media in this thing, because you got to leave room for the brass. In fact, you'll get an idea after a while how many 223s will fit in there, how many 9mm to put in, you know.
Yeah, you kind of get a feel for it with different
About
colors.
a big old handful or two.
About that
you know.
much. Yeah. So, and you can dry tumble in this as well, right?
You sure can.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
In fact, a lot of people used to dry tumble almost exclusively with those. When they were advertised for reloaders, they were advertised that way. You know, the people tumbling rocks were doing wet tumbling the whole time,
yeah,
but most of it was dry.
interesting. So, just to be clear, when you dry, you go back to your corn cob or walnut and put that in there instead of the pins. Don't dry. There's no point in dry tumbling with stainless steel pins,
No,
right?
no, it doesn't do the same job.
Yeah. So, in that case, if you're going to dry tumble on a rotary, go back to your non-stainless steel media,
Yeah.
I should say.
Yep. But it'll make you a believer after you wet tumble some brass and you pour out that water. It is dark colored. It is a very dark gray usually.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see that being a thing for sure. So, one question we're probably going to get is why would you use Vibratory if this will do both jobs? And that's because in pretty much most cases, these are more affordable.
They are more affordable, but also if you just go with the dry method, they're very convenient to use. They're about the right size. You can store them anywhere. And I don't know. It's just easy.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you know, there's different products that, of course, different brands are in different price ranges, right? So there are various tiers within each one of these different machines that you can buy from. And of course, you know, you get what you pay for in most cases, right? So if you buy the nicer machine, it'll last longer and run quieter, just do an overall better job.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the last method we want to talk about here, Steve. It's going to be ultrasonic.
Ultrasonic. That's somewhat new.
Yeah, and I've noticed that when you use an ultrasonic, it gets it really clean, but not shiny.
Right. That's correct. It is for cleanliness only. So
Right.
if you have an ultrasonic and a vibratory tumbler, you can always shine it up later after you get it completely clean. You can just toss it in here for an hour and get that shine on it again.
Yeah, so you can double down and do both.
Yeah, some people do.
If being super shiny is a concern for you, it doesn't have to be super shiny to
No.
work. It just
sure
has to be
doesn't.
clean, right?
Yep.
So-
That's the whole idea.
Yeah, and your ultrasonics, you know, you like this one here. Some of them are heated, some of
Right.
them are not. Heating kind of speeds up that process.
It does. Makes it a lot easier.
And there are different solutions. Pretty much every brand that makes ultrasonic, they make a solution to put in there, and the solution is
That's the one downside, though. You have to have a special solution to do ultrasonic.
Yeah.
At least most people do use a special solution.
yeah. And if you can try and like mix your own stuff, but I don't think it works
Yeah.
nearly as well.
But it works faster than the other two as
Right.
far as just getting it clean.
Yeah, you can set the timer on here, hit the go button, and it'll run for a little bit and shut off. And yeah, it's much faster than the other two methods.
Yeah.
But in most cases, pun intended, cases, because we're cleaning cases, right? Get it?
Yeah, I got it.
So, and like these, typically, I noticed I feel like they don't hold as much.
No, they don't. They don't.
But yeah, so to use this, I mean, you basically just put your liquid, put water in there, put whatever cleaner you're using in there, the detergent, and then you just dump your cases in, hit the button, set it and forget it.
Right, right. Some of those early machines offered to the reloading public were just glorified jewelry cleaners is all they were, so they weren't very big. Now that the industry has learned and they're making them bigger.
Yeah, and ultrasonic, you can use it for other things too, not just cases.
Yep.
You can change the solution and then clean guns in there.
Right, or your muzzle device that's all dirtied up.
Suppressors.
Some suppressors are okay in ultrasonic. My brother's isn't. He learned.
Okay.
He thought it was.
Yikes. That's,
It's not.
It's a tough lesson.
No, he read the manual actually.
Oh, okay.
The guy that sold it to him said it'd be fine.
Oh, well, good thing your brother reads.
Buyer beware.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and ultrasonic tends to be a bit pricey as well.
Yeah, they are.
But it is fast and it's convenient because it has multiple uses outside of reloading.
Right.
So those are the three main kind of machines or methods to clean your brass.
Sure.
And let's talk about what to do after you have them clean. So you need to separate your brass from all that media. That can be that's kind of a tricky job in itself.
Well, you don't want to use your wife's colander. You really don't.
Yeah, she's not going to be happy. But fortunately, there's stuff specifically for the reloader.
Yes.
All right, so Lyman has this bin set here. That's pretty nice. So it has this first one here that fits inside the other, and that's literally just a mesh screen.
Right.
So if you're wet tumbling, or if you're using an ultrasonic, you just pour everything in here. That'll separate. So for ultrasonic, that'll separate the brass from the water, and that's, I mean,
Yep.
you can rinse it. That's all you need to do.
Yep.
Just rinse it off. If you're using your stainless steel, what do? See, you just pour it through here.
Pour it through there. Yep.
Now you got
That's all you
pins
do.
and brass.
Yep. And then you can pour it into the other one and separate the pins from the brass.
Right, and make sure you have like a bin or a bucket or something underneath this. Don't just pour it because it's going to go on the floor, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's not where you want it. So have a bucket or something, pour it into here, and then just shake it. And when you shake it, all the media will separate from your brass, and ideally, what you'll have in here is just brass. I mean, stuff gets stuck in cases.
Sure.
It
and
happens.
that one looks like it'll let 22 long rifle cases through too, which is kind of important because I don't know, when you pick stuff up at the range,
Yeah.
you know, things just happen.
Yeah, I've had like 22s inside of 9 mils that I've
Yeah.
picked up and not noticed.
Yeah.
So
But that separates that out nicely.
yeah, so that's nice to have. So that's one way to do it there. Another way, and you know we're focusing on 2 brands here, but there's a ton of other stuff out there.
Yeah, it sure is.
So Frankfurt Arsenal makes this bucket. They literally just took a bucket with handles, cut slots in the side, and then they have this drum that goes in there,
Right.
and you just put this here. So you'll want to, and these are like shields just to keep everything from.
Yeah, we couldn't figure those out at first.
Yeah, but.
But if you've ever used one of those rotary separators, media flies in all directions if you spin it too fast.
Right, so if you got your kid doing all the work and they're just going to town on this thing, you know, it's not going to be flying all over your living room or wherever you're doing it.
Yeah.
So it has a pin that you pull out. Has a little tag on it here.
A little grenade pin.
A little grenade pin. Yeah, so you
Oh,
pull.
man.
This is brand new, so it's a little stiff, but you literally just open this guy up, pour everything in,
Yep.
and then you close it up. Reset your pin. And then now, ideally you would put those shields on, right? So you're not throwing stuff all over the place. But all you do is turn it, and it tumbles that brass in here, and it separates the media into the bottom of the bucket and keeps the brass in here.
Right, and it'll work for liquid or dry media.
Yep, so it'll work for both, and then all you got to do is take this off, pull the pin, and dump your brass wherever you want to dump your brass, and all your media will be in the bucket.
Right.
Super easy.
You try to keep the mess to a minimum.
Yeah, and that's what this is all about. That just speeds up the time and separating everything.
Frankfurt Arsenal also makes a rotary tumbler like this.
Yes.
That's very, very popular as well.
And it's as far as rotary tumblers go, it's pretty affordable.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we carry that one too.
Yep. So, Steve, I think that covers most of it. One thing I wanted to talk about here is if you're picking up brass on the ground, like, for example, 223, a lot of that's going to be crimped.
Oh, primer pocket.
It's going to have
yeah.
crimped primer pockets.
Yeah.
We'll go into this in further detail in another video, but
Right.
You got them right over there.
Oh, man, yeah.
This is a die that swages that primer pocket and kind of resets it to accept primers. And
This is one that goes in your reloading press.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention it real quick because we were talking about like case preparation type stuff. But it's just a die, right? So this screws into that reloading press.
Yep.
And I'll just kind of show you the things here. Like I said, we'll go through it in more detail. It'll probably have its own video, honestly. And then you have these mandrels that fit in. I'll set them up here. So you have one for large rifle primer, small rifle primer.
Right.
They fit into your shell holder. And then the rod, so these will basically sit on the bottom here. The rod will come down.
Yeah, that mounts in the die body here.
Right, and then it'll just pinch that primer pocket from both sides and swedge it open to where it needs to be.
Right.
So,
now that crimp isn't much. I mean, you can take a pocket knife and scrape it out, or a
Yeah.
deburring tool and take it out. But this doesn't remove any metal. It just swages it back into place where it began life.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to remove any material from the back of your case, that's the way to go.
Yeah, that's the way I'd recommend doing it. Anytime you can avoid removing material and just push it back to where it needs to be, that's the way to go.
But if you're running a progressive press, especially, you want to make sure every primer pocket is ready to receive a primer because they don't want to go in if there's a crimp there.
Yep, and that can be a big holdup.
Yeah.
So, I think that pretty much covers it, Steve.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah.
And if there's any particular piece of equipment that you want to see used or you just don't know how it works and you want to see a video on it, let us know. We're certainly open to doing more of this stuff. So
That's right. And if you have any secret formulas for ultrasonic solution made at home, tell me about it. I'd like to hear.
Yeah, like don't pull like a Leonardo da Vinci and like leave out a crucial step in your creation to like sabotage it.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
I don't know why my mind went there, but yeah, if you want to share your secrets,
The full recipe.
yeah, the full recipe, right? Don't replace like something with something else to
Yeah.
sabotage. Don't. We'll catch you. We know what's good.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. I made it super weird, but on that note, we'll go ahead and end it here. So, like I said before, if you want to see a particular piece of equipment used, let us know. If you just have any questions or comments in general, feel free to post them down below. And as always, you can give us a call on the tech line. We'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.